Hey, the new update is coming and is looking very promising. But looking back 2 weeks ago, the update was still far away and there was not much to do until it arrives. So I took the chance and faced an old challenge I kept avoiding since I think over a year. Yes, it is the monk. Today, I bring you all the stuff I learned in the last weeks, packed into an all round guide with the most efficient builds for open world, dungeon, raids, and PvP, including new pet build and a tank monk. So let's go. When we look at the four main disciplines we have in the game, I tried to figure out a build for each of the different disciplines and try to find the most effective one, of course, to figure out where the monk lies when we look at the other classes and to define the class ranking of him. So when we look at the open world, I found a speed farm build that really puts him into S tier because he can keep up with the Barbarian, which is pretty tough. Of course, Barbarian sometimes outfarms him in the speed, but mostly he can keep up, which is incredible. For dungeons, he's a real asset. He has a support with his bubble to boost the damage of the whole team members. He has his little burn damage where he can use his Zen shield even on other members. And of course, he's dealing a heavy single target damage to bosses, which let you complete the dungeon even faster. And in addition, he's fast. So if you have crazy dungeons like the pit or something, he can run and you don't have to wait for him, which is nice. For raids, with the new summon build, which is really incredible and makes a lot of fun, I would rank him on S tier as well now, because he's really dealing a solid damage. You can easily get over 2 million damage per second with the right sets and gems, of course, but then you can get your glory chests easily. So lastly, and most importantly, the PvP for Battleground. Yeah, he's not reaching S tier yet, in my opinion. He's getting a solid A plus. He's on his way to the S tier, especially when you look at the tank build I brought you, where he is an asset and win games. What do you need for open world? You don't need single target DPS, totally useless. What you need is crowd damage and you need utility, means speed. That's what you need. So in this build, we're focusing on the skills Exploding Palm, which gives us a dash. We have the allies with the Flaming Spirits, which are burning and clearing our back rows. And we have the Imprisoned Fist with an essence that delivers another dash, and the Cyclone to give us a good AoE damage, of course. We go with the Fists of Thunder because they give us another dash on our first initial hit to get to the mob. So let's take a deeper look into the legendaries and the essences. We have 4 essences to get our burning allies onto 100% uptime, or nearly 100% uptime, because they are essentially needed to clear the mobs behind us. So we go with the headpiece, which is a Resurgency, which gives us another ally duration for every kill while they're up. Then we have the Companion's Melody, the Pants essence, which just generally increase the duration of the allies. Then the Lamplighter, which initially make our allies dealing burning damage. And of course, I think they are the allies with the highest uptime, as far as I know. And the Rod of Echoes, which again decrease the cooldown of the allies. For the dashes, which are really crucial for us, we go with the offhand, the Obstruction of Omniscience, which make the Burning Palm or Exploding Palm into a dash. So this is cool because you can dash through the mobs. They get this explosion tick, which let them explode once you kill one of them. Means if you just attack one with a single hit, or your allies attack one, then the whole mob explodes, which let you clear them really fast. Then we have the shoulders with the Authority of Patience, where the Imprisoned Fist now gets a dash as well. It's chargeable, so you can move while charging the dash to deliver a high and good amount of damage to nearly clear the mob with just this dash. And lastly, we want some AoE damage with the Cyclone. We have the chest with the balance and moderation, which makes the Cyclone following you, makes it an aura style. And then we have another offhand with the Eye of the Storm, which increases the radius of the storm, which is important because while you're running through the mobs, you can't go left and right and try to get everyone there. You just want to attract every one of them to follow you and then let your allies kill them. Lastly, the sets. The Issatar is working best here. You need the movement speed, so 2-piece is essential. 4-piece is even better to get this additional damage done. The 2-piece Vithus helps you to get the Cyclone uptime to 100% as well. And you can go with the 2-piece Banquet if you want, if you don't have the 4-piece Issatar, because it brings you another 50% damage. Because what you need as a gem is dots. So you need the Viper, the Bile, the Torment, all of those 3 if you can, because those dots let you clear the mobs behind you. You don't need to hit them until all of them are down. You can just run past them and your dots and your allies are making most of the work. In addition, you need movement speed. So Penclasp gives you some movement speed while running past the mobs, and the Jade, of course, to get the base movement speed addition to the Issatar. This makes you then really fast. In addition with your dashes, you then get as fast as a Barbarian. So this is how it looks in action. Have fun. Coming to dungeons. Dungeons are something else. There you need more like an all-round build. You need single DPS for clearing the bosses, you need the crowd damage to get to the bosses fast, and you need utility because you need to be fast while moving. So for our dungeon cleaner, we go with the skills Mystic Strike, we go with the allies, the Inner Sanctuary and the Zen Shield, together with the fists, of course. We do our DPS with a Mystic Strike to get some attack speed, and we have our Flaming Spirits, which help us clearing bosses fast. We support our team with the 35% damage bubble, and we have our movement speed over the Zen Shield and a good AoE damage with it. What does it mean on the essences? For the movement and the attack speed, we go with 3 pieces. We have the chest for our 25% movement speed on the Zen Shield. We have the pants for the Mystic Strike to do a great jump. And our Mystic Strike, of course, boosts our primary attack speed, which helps us clearing bosses. For mob cleaning, we go with the essence on the main hand, the new Shield of Flames, which brings us the burning aura, and which can even be shared to other team members. And we have the Fist of Thunder AoE essence with the twitching palm. So once mobs are done, we get to the bosses, and there we need the Blessed Sanctuary. It's the common used helmet, which gives you that 35% damage boost. And of course we take the offhand, the Respites Sigh, which gives a greater duration on this bubble to have it available through more than one boss phase. Lastly, we have the Lamplighter again with the Mystic Allies to clear bosses fast, because those 2 flaming allies are really dealing a heavy blow of damage. For the sets, we go with the 4-piece Vithus, which gives us an additional 30% attack speed, and of course increases all the durations of our skills. And the 2-piece Banquet because it's always triggered with our Flaming Spirits on the bosses, and we get that 50% additional damage. For the gems, take everything that deals damage. Easy thing. A Lamnet, of course, is always important to get a good crit. A Fang is good, Pain Clasp is good, Berserkers, whatever you have to deal damage, this is the most efficient way. We don't want to go into any crazy duration stuff or any summon build things here. Those Flaming Spirits are just helping us at low budget. So this build on the puppet, you can see as a little test what damage it can produce. You get easily to 1.5 million damage per second to clear those bosses while still having the utility. The utility you need for, especially for dungeons like this, where you need to be fast, to just clear those dungeons and get your sets, because being a slowpoke here is really annoying. So you combine the utility and the damage to be a real dungeon cleaner. So after you can farm your Legendaries open world and you get your sets from the dungeons, you now want to be the master of disaster in the raids. What do you need for raids? You need a high DPS. That is mainly the focus. You don't need any utility, crowd damage or whatever. You just need as much damage as possible. Only if you go for the gauntlets, of course. This build is not for the gauntlet, because there you need other stuff. But for the raids, you can go with a full summon monk here, which gives you a heavy damage with the 5 spirits, the 2 summons from the Echo, and of course the 6-piece shepherd. You have a heavy primary damage still in addition to the summons, and you combine both of them with the aura that gives you 25% damage and attack speed boost. So Mystic Strike, the allies, Inner Sanctuary, and the 7-sided kick, because it can boost your primary. Let's look at the Legendaries. Most of them are focused on our allies. So set up to get 5 Mystic Allies and boost them with the attack, speed and damage. We take the new helmet, the Neckbreaker. I tested it versus the other helmet with the 35% damage. This one works better. I can't really explain why, it just works better after testing. We take the Falcons dive as well, because we have a higher range for our Sanctuary to really get it effective on all of the summons, because it's a one-time shot, it's not a permanent aura, you just can give the boost once to them. And we have the pants to now make our Mystic Strike, firing summons as well, in addition to our regular allies. So this is why we come to the number of 5. And the Lamplighter again, because we focus on the burning allies. They are a bit better than the new ones in the DPS output they can provide. And lastly, we have the Inner Sanctuary duration increased by 40% with the Respites Sigh. For the other essence, we boost our own primary attack damage. So we go again, while we use the Mystic Strike for summoning, we still can have it for our 30% attack speed bonus, which affects, as far as I know, our summons as well. And we have the synergy of the 7. It is boosting our primary attack, creating kind of a summon, but you cannot really affect it with the aura, with every strike of our primary. And we have the Twitching Palm, which gives the AoE bolts that just deal additional damage. Coming to the sets, it's easy. 6-piece Shepherd works best, because you have that Frenzy State with the 6-piece, which increases the attack speed by 60% for all of the summons, and you get the crit and the additional 50% damage. For the gems, if you have it, because maybe you're a class change or anything, go with the Follower's Burden. It really brings another damage boost. Echo is really essential for this build, and then we go into damage gems again. We, as a monk, do not have all the perfect gems, of course, for a summon build, but those damage gems, mostly everyone tries to build them. And lastly, my tip is the Spark, because this one really utilizes with all of these summons, it gets really triggered a lot and is alone dealing heavy damage. What does it mean for damage counts? If you check it on the puppet, you're going pretty high at the start. We're tipping shortly at the 3 million, going down to 5 million, and then slowly sinking down to 2 million in our first 10-second damage boost, which is the most important one for the raids. So cool output for summon build. And we break it down, 9 million on the main and 9 million combined on the allies. Let's check it out on raid boss. Let's pick Jamnal. He's pretty good because just one sequence only. Let's throw everything against him. And again, I'm not really focused on summons, so I'm missing some gems, I'm missing some reforges and everything, so there is a lot more potential into this build if you really focus on it. But you see, Jamnal goes down quickly, we are happy, the build is good, try it out. Hey, we finally reached the last discipline, the PvP Battleground. And here I have a special treat for you, the Monk the Tank. It's a really nice build, and I struggled a lot with the Monk in PvP. It was too squishy, and after the Zen Shield was nerfed and not for the full duration, you had your knockback immunity anymore. It was tough to actually win the Battleground, but with that build, really I had good games where I did my part in the game to win it. So that was a good feeling. This build has only a slow single DPS, so you are not the assassin. You have a good crowd damage. This is nice. A solid crowd damage. When you play with a lower Razor, where you're in the higher bracket, you really kill a lot of them. When you play against higher resonance players, higher resonance than you have, or higher stats than you have, you're not gonna kill that much. But for utility, it has a lot of utility because it makes you to a tank. So we go with the Exploding Palm, which gives us a good initiation and escape because within assets we are not targetable within the dash. We go with the Bell with the new essence to give us an AoE damage. We go with the Inner Sanctuary without an essence to use the 50% damage reduction, and the Zen Shield with the Flaming Aura that gives us a bigger shield, really a big shield here. And all together with the mount set, we have a lot of shields, we have a lot of damage reduction, and we have the AoE damage with the shield and the bell, which really let us control the idol. What does it mean for the essences? We boost our damage with the Blind Focus Helmet, which gives us 20% additional damage whenever we use the Exploding Palm, which we use a lot with the offhand Crushing Palm, the Reaching Rebuke, which lets us launch us into the sky, as I said, which is a not targetable move. So whenever you are in danger, you can just jump. You're not in the game anymore for 1 or 2 seconds. When you land, maybe your cooldowns are down, like for the Zen Shield, and you can cast the shield again to save yourself. In addition to that, we have our passive AoE damage. This is really important. We have the pants, the shoulder to give our wave of protection to us and to all of the other players around us, just to the 4-piece group, of course, to do kind of a retribution, to do counter attacks with a 30k damage each, and we boost it with the pants with a 20% additional damage, where people really kill themselves with just hitting us. And in addition, we go with the Shield of Flames, which I think in the Battleground gives a 30 to 40k shield or something. It's a bit strived. It's not the same as in the PvE. That again deals damage to the enemies once they touch us, which burns them in addition to the belts damage. And lastly, we want to be a tank. So we take our inner Sanctuary without an essence. We just improve the range with the Falcons dive so that we help our other team members. But in addition, we want to be able to jump. So with the small range, every time we jump, we nearly get out of the circle, which is bad and which will kill us when we auto-attack someone out of the circle. So we want a bigger range to be just sure that we stay within. Which leads us again to the sets. 4-piece mount is the way to go. We need more shields, just as much shields as possible to be tanky. And we want to have the 2-piece Vithus to boost the duration of all of our skills, because nearly everything has a beneficial effect. With those two, we have gems that are essential. We need the Lament because we need any kind of crit. We need the Spiteful Blood to be even tankier when all the shields are done and down and we don't want to die instantly. We want to have even more shields with the Frozen Heart. And what works really good is the Spark, because with the counter attacks, the Spark gets triggered very often. So when you're in the middle of 4 people and all 4 people are slashing you, your bell is going crazy and dealing counter attacks like hell. And then you have the Spark in addition. It really is nuts, and you can even kill high razor players from time to time with that. Lastly, one point that is important for the cursed gear, I really advise you the nettled 6-piece, because every 30 seconds you get a 56% damage counter attack when your shield is up and someone is hitting you. So this is again another third counter attack that lets you improve your damage you deal in the idle. So everything around that build is sitting in that idle like a little tick and just not going away and killing everyone who is trying to killing you. What you really need to remember is your stances. So you need to activate them. As soon as you hit a battle, try to activate the attack stance, so that once you are in the battle and all your shields are down and you don't have anything to trigger anymore, you can activate your health stance to give you 50% of your maximum life back, and any shield that pops up then gets another 20% effectiveness, so more shield. So that is really important, and you need to remember to use your stances. So much for the PvP monk tank. We will go into the demo next. For now, let's have a look at additional PvP combos that are, of course, very effective. So things you might know or not know, which can give you a little idea about other playstyles you could follow. It's a bubble monk, of course. It's very, very popular right now. Many people are playing it with a Bell of Sorrow, where you give this big bubble where people can't dash and are slowed. Of course, in combination with the Falcons dive to improve the range of this bubble and the duration with the offhand. And in addition, they go with the Shield of Zen dash that, of course, gives you knockback immunity. So you dash with the shield activated into the enemy's group. They can't knock you back. You pop up your bubble and then you get out again. This is the idea behind this. You have the Burst Monk, which is really nice because it is, I think, the highest impact damage you can deal. They have the Mystic Strike. You utilize it with the invisibility, so you dash into the enemy. You are invisible now. You can move around a bit. And your next skill you use will deal nearly 60% additional damage. So there you go then with the 7-sided strike that just repeatedly attacks into one direction. It's a heavy damage skill itself, and if you boost it by 60%, it's enormous. So you can one-shot people if you do it correctly. The Dragon Monk is getting more and more popular. It's more like a CC build where you have this new chest where you can create this initial knock up where on an area of effect. And then on a second activation, you can jump there and can kick them again and stun the enemies again. So you kind of double disable them. And then you have the Pants, the Eternal Bound with an additional activation of of that CC skill, and you can have an offhand to even improve the damage a bit by 10%. So lastly, one thing I want to mention is the Laser Monk, something that I find very funny, and is more like a back row attack, where you have this will below that lets you create a laser out of the wave strike, and you combine it with the burst damage again from the Mystic Strike, where you get 60% additional damage. You can have the chest, where you do another 20% damage, and you can have the main hand, where you get 30% range. So you have a really long laser with a high damage impact, where you can nearly shoot the whole idol with that laser and a dash. That can make you, again, invisible, of course. So nice combination. But now let's get back to our tank monk. I have some examples for you, and let's have a look. I had a lot of fun playing the monk, finding all of those builds and preparing the data for you so you can have a look and maybe, yeah, find something cool to use for yourself. So, if you liked the video, feel free to subscribe, leave me a comment if you have any notes, any additions, or know something better than I do. I always feel happy to learn more and get more insights. Next video will come soon, so stay tuned and see you then. Bye bye.